So today we're actually going to go ahead and do notes in a little bit of a different way. We are going to go through them with a pre-recorded video like that I'm recording right now. And then from there, we are actually going to do some in-class practice, and you guys can hop on the Meet with any questions. So today we're looking at subtraction with integers, okay? So we've done addition, but today we're going to be working with subtraction. So we're going to start by, I want you to pause the video and I want you to try and solve the following 6 problems. So there's actually 3 problems, but each one has an A and a B. So I want you to take a second, pause the video, and go ahead and try and solve each of those questions for me. Okay, so now that you're back, let's go through a few of these. So it says solve the following problems. And remember, we can solve this addition problem in 2 different ways. We can either draw integer chips, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then our 2 negatives, right? We circle our 0 pairs, and we are left with a total of 6. Our other option here is to go ahead and represent this on the number line, where we go forward 8 and backwards -2. Where does that end up putting us? Okay. Now, when you look at letter B, 8 minus 2, hopefully you guys know what 8 minus 2 is, right? 8 take away 2. If you look at a number line, you start at 8 and you're taking 2 away, you're moving to the left, and you end up at 6. For -3 plus -5. 2 different ways, again, that you guys can do this. You can go ahead and use your number line, or you can use your integer chips. You're going to go backwards 3 because it goes in the negative direction, and then continue even more backwards 5. Okay, when I say backwards, I mean go to the left. And following our integer rules that we had before, we know that -3 plus -5 means that we're going to have to add those numbers together. When we add those numbers together, we get 8. And because both signs are negative, our answer is going to be -8. Now over here, if we look at a number line, now it says -3 take away 5. So if you're taking away, you are still going to be going to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? If you're taking something away, you're still going to be, if you're taking away this number, you're still going to be going to the left. You're putting us at -8 again. This last one, you should have gotten 4 plus -1 is 3, and 4 minus 1 is also 3. So hopefully you notice something about each of the problems. For A and B in each problem, you should have gotten the same answer. Okay? Same answer, but different problems. Okay? That is what you should have noticed. So when doing subtraction, this is when things can kind of get a little bit confusing. We spent a lot of time working with addition, okay? And the good news is we are not going to get rid of that whole addition idea. We're basically going to be taking our subtraction problems and changing them into addition problems, okay? The whole idea of subtraction is that instead of subtracting, we call it adding the opposite, okay? This allows us to then follow our integer rules. So that number 1, our steps go as follows. It says keep the first number the same. So if I had a problem like this, 6 minus 10, we're going to keep that first number the same. That's going to stay. I'm going to rewrite that right here. Change your subtraction to addition. So rather than a minus, I'm going to change it to a plus. Then it says change the last number so that it's opposite. Well, it was 6 minus, we're going to say this is a positive 10. So instead of a positive 10, it becomes 6 plus negative 10. So we're taking this and we're adding the opposite. So anytime you see subtraction, think, I'm going to add the opposite of the number that is there. So another way that we could rewrite this, let's say we have one that looks like 7 minus negative 2. Okay, same idea. Keep, change, change. We're adding the opposite. Keep that first number the same. And then from here, instead of subtraction, I'm going to add. And we're going to make sure that we're adding the opposite. So we're changing the subtraction to addition, and then we're changing the last number so that it is its opposite. Since this was negative 2, I'm going to change it to positive 2. Once we get down to this point right here, we should be able to follow our integer rules that we have been following for the last week or so, right? So this one's pretty easy. You just end up with 7 plus positive 2. You could draw it out. You could use a number line. But you should end up at 9. And then over here, 6 plus negative 10. Let's go ahead and draw out our integer chips for this one. We have, oops, there's supposed to be 6. We have 6 0 pairs, and we have 4 negatives left over, okay? So the most important thing to note here is that when you are subtracting, it's the same thing as adding the opposite. Okay? It's the same thing as adding the opposite. So let's just go through these steps. 3 minus 7. The first number is 3. We are good there. The operation is negative, is subtracting, sorry, but we're going to change it to addition. Then we're going to go ahead and look at this number, and we are going to see that it is a positive 7. So since we're subtracting a positive 7, the opposite of that would be adding a negative 7. So right here you have boom, boom, boom. That is going to be your new expression that you're going to work with here. 3 plus negative 7. Keep, change, change. Keep the first number the same. Change the subtraction to addition. And change the second number to the opposite. And then from here, you can go ahead and actually use your integer chips. And I'm going to show you something really quick. We're going to do, if you ever want to go ahead and use these manipulatives, you are more than welcome to do so. So our problem was 3 plus negative 7. So I would go over here and I would say, okay, I've got 3 positives and I've got 7 negatives. Okay. So I'm going to highlight my 0 pairs. I have 3 sets of zeros and we cleared them, okay, because they go away. And what we're left with is our 4 negative numbers, okay, our 4 negative integer tiles, giving us an answer of negative 4. Okay, for this one, we've got first number. What's our first number? Our first number is 12. That first number stays the same. The operation that's happening is subtraction, but we need to change it to addition. Remember, we're adding the opposite. Anytime you're subtracting, it's the same thing as adding the opposite. So instead of subtraction, it's going to become addition. And we see that this number is negative 8, but we need to add the opposite of that number. So instead of negative 8, we are adding a positive 8. So this one actually becomes a fairly simple addition problem here. We end up with 12 plus 8. 12 plus 8 gives you 20. And then it's also something that if you wanted to, you could go ahead and show on your manipulatives using your integer tiles. So let's go ahead and do a couple more of these. So we've got 4 minus 6. So this is basically telling us we need to make sure we change our subtraction into addition. So we keep the first number the same, and then we're going to add the opposite. So we're going to change that to addition, and then change that to a negative 6. Think of it like this. If you're going left because you're subtracting, that's the same thing before that we talked about when we're adding a negative. Okay, that's the same thing. We would also be going when we're adding a negative, just like when we subtract. So for this one, we would be going forward 4, stop right at 4, and then we turn around and we go backwards 6. And that would put us right here at negative 2. I would like you to go ahead and pause and do 2, 3, and 4 on your own. When you're ready to unpause, I will go through these ones just a little bit quicker. All right, so I hoped you were able to figure those problems out. So for that first one, remember we're going to change this first into an addition problem. So it's a subtraction problem. We have negative 7 minus 2, but rather we're going to change it to adding the opposite. So rather than subtracting 2, we're going to add a negative 2. You should have ended up, once you went ahead and did it on the number line, you should have ended up at negative 9 because you were going backwards. Backwards to 7, and then left 2 more, putting you at negative 9. This next one, we got negative 2 minus negative 9. Keep that first number the same. Always keep that first number the same. Then we need to add the opposite. So rather than minus negative 9, it actually just becomes plus a positive 9. Okay? So that means we go back 2 and forward 9, putting us over here at 7. For this one, you should have gotten 8 plus 1. Keep, change, change, giving you a total of 9. And for this one, you should have gotten negative 9 plus positive 3. And you can go ahead and always say plus a positive if that helps you. But you only need 1 plus if there are 2 pluses next to each other. And you should have gotten negative 6 for this one. Please reach out if you have any questions.